The story begins 22 years ago in the Germa Kingdom. Germa is a kingdom led by the Vinsmoke family, and it is a nomadic kingdom. Because it doesn't have one fixed location or one island like kingdoms normally have in One Piece, their ships are alive and are snails that have castles on their backs. Generally, the kingdoms of One Piece are islands, but the Germa Kingdom is not. They are ships that connect like puzzle pieces, thus simulating a large location similar to an island. In this kingdom, there exists a leader called Vinsmoke Judge, and he is a scientific researcher who is developing various experiments with the lineage factor and ways to create superhumans. Among his experiments exists the research that he conducted together with Dr. Vegapunk. It is also at this time that Dr. Vegapunk is conducting experiments with Akuma no Mi, among them making objects eat Akuma no Mi and making artificial Akuma no Mi. Also among Dr. Vegapunk's research is the research of the lineage factor, which is what we know as DNA. All forms of life are born with the lineage factor, and it is possible to alter it by eating an Akuma no Mi. Given these facts, Judge and Vegapunk found a formula, the formula that Akuma no Mi used to alter the lineage factor. Since Kaido was captured by the Marines, he was studied, and his powers and abilities were used extensively in the research. His Akuma no Mi was replicated artificially, and this is the Akuma no Mi that Momonosuke ate. Judge, who had gathered a large amount of information about these experiments, developed a technology connected to the lineage factor. With this technology, Vinsmoke Judge could make a normal human super strong thanks to the lineage factor. And this artificial DNA alteration simulated the powers of an Akuma no Mi, creating an exoskeleton in the human being. The Germa Kingdom also has the technology of the raid suits, which are suits extremely resistant that give abilities to whoever wears them. So by mastering human cloning, Judge developed several clones, but they weren't very strong. Despite being strong, this is how he understood that they didn't need to be just clones. This technology had to be implemented in natural people created from a normal human gestation. This way, he decides to impregnate his own wife and give his future children this fortification technology. Judge's ultimate ambition was for the Vinsmoke family to restore the Germa Empire. He dedicated his entire life, all his time, only to this purpose. Vegapunk and Judge found the genetic factor that the Akuma no Mi creates, and by managing to master this alteration, they created a way to make people stronger with exoskeletons. And the people who undergo this genetic alteration have their abilities enhanced and end up with a symbol very similar to the symbol of the Akuma no Mi on their bodies, which is the spiral symbol. And the source of this information is SBS 98, where Oda deliberately let this information leak. One of Eiichiro Oda's very famous phrases is that One Piece's biggest secret is hidden in Sanji's eyebrow. And this is one of the reasons. Going back to the story, Judge had impregnated his wife so that she would have a super powerful child, and he wanted to genetically alter him and put him through various strength training to become a faithful warrior, super powerful. And it seems that at first, Sora even agreed with the idea, but this would change when she discovered that this genetic alteration done during pregnancy would leave the child without feelings. Then she seems to be against the idea. Reiju, the eldest daughter of the two, also underwent this genetic modification, but she still keeps a bit of her human feelings. Despite being few, she still has them, and she is not as strong as the sons who would follow. Judge wanted to create humans totally empty of feelings who would only obey without any questioning. It was then that Sora discovered she was pregnant with quadruplets, and Judge was very happy to know he would have 4 strong warriors modified with his experiments. But Sora argued with him several times about this. She did not agree, and Reiju saw several of these arguments. But even so, she is still forced to accept and undergo a procedure of implanting modification technology in the fetuses. So Sora decides to do something unique. She subscribes to the Otaku Way channel and also drinks an antidote against the implanted technology. And the result is that only one of her 4 sons was not affected by the genetic modification. The other 3 twins were successfully modified and became soldiers without feelings and heavily modified. They were named according to their births. The first, oldest, Ichiji, the second, Niji, the third, Sanji, and the fourth, Yonji. In Japanese, there are several ways to count. Yon can be 4, but 4 can also be chi. Sanji, even while keeping his feelings and not having received the benefits of genetic modification, also ended up with the curled eyebrow like his brothers. Actually, his powers just remained dormant, and this kind of caused some discontent among the fans. It's as if his mother's sacrifice had been in vain. But at least he has feelings. Many feelings. Going back to the story. In the first years of life, it was already possible to see that Sanji was the most sentimental of all the children, and that he really wasn't as strong as them. When they were put in training, Sanji always came in last place. As a normal human, Sanji liked to read the Akuma no Mi Encyclopedia, which was one of the great sources of scientific research for his father. Vinsmoke Judge, Sanji's father, said that because he was born as a normal human, he would have to work 100 times harder in training to become as strong as his brothers. And the boy's mother, Sora, was terribly ill after having been a test subject for these experiments and having taken the antidote against the lineage factor alteration technology. This was one of the reasons that encouraged Sanji to learn how to cook. He saw his sick mother and felt the urge to cook something to take to her to eat and help somehow in her recovery. It seems that all the positive feelings and kindness that didn't go to his brothers had gathered in Sanji. His father and brothers saw this as something ridiculous. His father punished him harshly for trying to learn how to cook or trying to cook for the castle rats. Sanji's brothers would beat him and make him a real punching bag. Reiju was the only one who helped him, treating his wounds when nobody was looking. One day, Sanji made a meal for his mother. He went out in the middle of a strong storm to deliver it to her, and the medical wing was quite far away, and Sanji went under the rain. On the way, he was attacked by a dog, and this caused the food he was taking to his mother to get all mixed up and look terrible. Even so, Sanji's mother ate it and said it was delicious. From that day on, Sanji would take the preparation of his meals much more seriously. Then Sanji's mother dies, and Judge loses his patience with Sanji and puts an iron mask on him to make him unrecognizable, locks the child in the basement, and orders everyone to be told that his weakest son died. So, he even held a funeral for Sanji while keeping him locked up. The soldiers told Sanji that he was being imprisoned by orders from his own father, and that Judge would prefer that Sanji had never been born. Sanji heard all this as a child, imprisoned in a cell with an iron mask on top of his head. Sanji asks for cooking books and utensils to practice in his time while imprisoned. His brothers would visit him to mock and beat him. For 7 months, Sanji stayed in a cold cell with little food, without hygiene, and with that iron mask stuck on, hurting his head. One day, the Germa Kingdom decided to cross the red line to attack the West Blue, and when they docked in very distant lands, Reiju frees Sanji from prison and tells him to get the key to his mask and run away. He goes to his father's room to get the key, and upon finding the key to his mask, he also encounters Judge, who says he can go but never again to say in public that he is his son. After that, Sanji ends up going to the pirate ship, and when falling in the water and almost drowning, a pirate decides to jump in the water to save Sanji. This pirate was called Zeph, and he pulled Sanji out of the water and they were shipwrecked. Zeph became very attached to Sanji because they both had the same dream of finding the All Blue. Sanji and Zeph stayed on a small deserted island. Zeph gave the only food he had to Sanji and tore off and ate his own leg to survive. This fact was left out of the anime for being considered too heavy. It only exists in the manga. Of course, he could have ordered Uber Eats, but he preferred a little rare leg. After a long time on the island, they managed to get rescued and ended up founding a maritime restaurant called Bharati. Zeph raised Sanji until he became an adult. He taught Sanji how to cook and how to fight, and Sanji became one of the best cooks in the world. One day, some pirates arrived at the Bharati restaurant, among them Monkey D. Luffy, and he calls Sanji to join his crew as a cook. After refusing, Sanji ends up joining the crew and goes on a journey to find the All Blue and be the cook of the future Pirate King. After getting to know various parts of the world and going through diverse places, Sanji is launched by Bartholomew Kuma, the Shichibukai, to Momoiro Island, the Okama Island, where the king is Emporio Ivankov, and he spends 2 years there training and developing. Sanji was also forced to reunite with his parents and his brothers sometime later when his father arranged a forced marriage between him and Big Mom's daughter to acquire Big Mom's power in exchange for his technology to try once again to restore the Germa kingdom. For this, he would give his son Sanji in exchange. In this, he threatened Zeph's life, who had been the real father who had raised Sanji, and Sanji, not knowing what to do, starts to obey the orders. He also put explosive handcuffs on Sanji so that if he tried to escape, he would lose his hands. Luffy meets Sanji during his transport in the carriage. Sanji prefers not to reveal to Luffy that Zeph is being held as a hostage and fights with Luffy. Actually, Sanji hits Luffy telling him to go away, but Luffy is stubborn and says he will wait for Sanji right there and won't eat anything until Sanji comes back and cooks for him. Big Mom, eyeing Germa 66's technology, created a trap where the bride would kill the groom during the wedding and the Germa members would be assassinated with special bullets that would pierce their exoskeletons. Everything went wrong exactly because of Sanji's feelings. He said that Pudding's third eye was very beautiful, and she had always suffered bullying exactly because of that eye, the eye that everyone said was a horrible thing. He had complimented it, and he had been the first to do so. So she can't shoot Sanji, and Sanji brought food to Luffy under the rain, exactly like when he brought that food to his mother, and Luffy ate it and also said it was delicious. Then Luffy asks Sanji what he wants, and Sanji in tears says he wants to return to the ship. So they mount a plan against Big Mom, and after everything goes wrong, Sanji saves his family and tells his father to never call him son in public again. And consequently, Sanji's cooking abilities, which were so disapproved of by his father, were used to stop Big Mom. By eating the cake made by Sanji, she stopped her eating disorder crisis, and thus, Sanji showed his family that he can also be strong, even being a cook, and even having feelings. Now Sanji has a Germa battlesuit that makes him invisible, increases his ability to walk on air, and greatly increases his speed and resistance. Having fought on equal terms with the ancient Zoan user, which is the most resistant type of Akuma no Mi of all, Sanji showed that he had a very big upgrade in his strength and abilities thanks to this suit, but he didn't keep it for very long. Wearing this cosplay, he looked even more like his brothers, and, in a decisive moment, he decided to destroy the canister that stored his Power Ranger cosplay. In Wano, things got really intense. Luffy's alliance attacked Kaido's Skull Island with everything, where a big party was happening. Big Mom and company were there, except Katakuri. He took some vacation. But the rapper Queen was there, and with his strange powers, sensual dance, and a modified body, he faced Sanji. After some good hits, we finally discovered that Sanji inherited the Germa exoskeleton, with his powers finally awakened. Now he was stronger than ever, even if it was with a power he hated. Zoro and Sanji shined in Wano, then in Egghead not much happened with Sanji. And up to the moment of this video, there hasn't been any great evolution in Elbaf either. We are anxiously waiting for the moment when Sanji will ignite his blue fire again and surprise us with his determination to save women. Despite so many tragedies and so much sadness that Sanji has already gone through, he managed to turn things around from all the difficulties and make all his weaknesses strength to overcome all obstacles. We all have a lot to learn from Sanji.